Hey guys, taxes, the subject of today's video. Something that we're not taught about in school, but probably should be taught about. Sure, we might learn that taxes pay for certain public services, that politician X wants to increase taxes while politician Y wants to decrease them. But do we really understand? Do we really learn about how they personally impact us and how they work? And then when you get to adult life, it's all an unexplored, confusing world to get into. So in this video, I'm going to tell you about all the things that I wish I'd learned about taxes when I was younger. And I'm going to give you some potential areas that you can look into that are applicable to your country when it comes to taxation. So let's get right into the video. Now, before I start the video, I just want to make this clear that this video is not tax advice. I'm not a tax professional, and that before making any decisions regarding your taxes, you should consult with a tax professional. Now that's out the way, let's get into the content of the video. So the first thing I wish I'd learned about when I was younger is just the principles of how taxes work in practice. You know, the absolute basic things like what income tax will I pay? What tax brackets are there? How much will that translate into on my payslip? Do I have to make social security contributions? How much will I pay? Do I have a tax-free allowance? What other taxes will I pay, such as if I make dividend income or if I make a profit on the sale of an asset? Are there any property taxes that I need to pay when I own a property or when I buy a property or when I sell a property? I can say that I honestly learned none of these things until I was, in my early years of adulthood, late teens, early 20s, when I really started to find out about this stuff and learn what it meant for me. But of course, it's super basic stuff, and I'm sure I'm not the only one who didn't learn about these kind of things sooner. But in terms of what it means for your financial situation, these are all important things that are worth understanding that you should learn about when it comes to taxation in your country where you're living. The second thing I wish I'd learned about are tax advantages that were available to me. Now, having grown up in the UK and having seen kind of what's out there in the rest of the world, I honestly think that the UK has some of the best tax advantage accounts when you look at the ISA and how you can contribute up to, £20,000 a year. Invest that, save that, and any interest or dividend income or capital gains you made within that you've invested or that you've placed in an ISA is not taxed. This is massive, and the compounding effect can be huge when you look at what that could look like over time. With that said though, for the time I was living in the UK, I never really took it seriously. I never took the opportunity to open an ISA while I was there. Obviously now I live outside the UK, so I can't take advantage of the ISA schemes. But had I taken advantage of a stocks and shares ISA while I was in the UK, I could have had that money working for me tax-free. When I left the UK though, I did discover other tax advantage products such as the PRI in France, which I've done a video about, and also the pension plan tax savings that you get when you're living in Spain. So I've done videos about them for anyone who's interested. But the point here is when it comes to building your wealth and making your money work for you, if you can get any tax advantages, any tax savings through products like the ones I've just mentioned, really take advantage of them because it can do wonders over the long term. Now, in the previous point, I of course mentioned that I left the UK and I moved to France and Spain, where I learned that tax doesn't work the same in every country. So I'm coming from the UK, where you've got, a tax-free allowance up to about £12,000, I think it might be now, and your income tax is withheld on your payslip from HMRC. When I moved to France, they hadn't yet implemented their version of this, so I was wondering, why are people saving money and then paying it all in one go? And why are people filling out paper tax declarations? I'd never filled out a tax declaration in the UK. I didn't even know really what a tax declaration was. And then after France, I moved to Spain, where I learned that there is no tax-free allowance on earned income in Spain, and also that the autonomous community you live in, the region, has an impact on how much tax you pay as well. So you can see that not everything works the same everywhere. So something you read online that might talk about the US, it might not be valid for wherever you're living. So make sure you're familiar with the local tax regime where you're living. Staying on the topic of moving abroad and tax systems being different in every country, yes, that means that in some cases you might be able to move abroad and pay less tax as a result of the tax system being different to the one in your home country. This is what I learned through watching YouTube channels like Nomad Capitalist, like Offshore Citizen, and also through seeing content on Instagram by creators such as Katy Di Paolo from Wanderers Wealth. You don't have to be tied to one location. You can go and explore the world, and at the same time you can optimize your taxes within that if that's something you want to do. I, as a young person, discovered very young that I wanted to go and travel the world and live abroad. I'm really glad I did that. But at the time I was too young, I had no income, and I didn't have any understanding of tax. to be able to really know where I wanted to go if I'd wanted to optimize my tax situation at the time. No regrets, but something that you can keep in mind, of course. And the last point I'm going to talk about is a more recent learning for me, which is yes, optimize your taxes, but don't overdo it. And whilst this point can apply to people who are simply employees of a company, you earn a salary every month, you might have some investments, it's more likely that this point is going to be relevant for small business owners or self-employed people. So what do I mean by overdoing it? So as a business owner or as a self-employed person, you of course have deductibles, expenses for your business that you can subtract from your income to give you your net profit. You may also be able to take advantage of government subsidies or advantages or schemes or programs that they're offering to help entrepreneurs as well. And so what I mean by overdoing it here is not necessarily taking advantage of every single possible deductible expense that you can have for your business, not necessarily applying for every single self-employed help scheme, for example, and not declaring a loss because you had so many deductible expenses. Because the more, let's say, irregular your situation seems in the eyes of the tax authorities in your situation, the more likely it is that they're going to probe deeper, they're going to want to look into your finances. Now, if you've done everything right, as you should, of course, then you shouldn't have anything to worry about. But, the fact that they're looking into you means they've got their eye on you. It means, if you slip up, you could be liable to a fine. You could be liable to pay more tax than you originally thought. You may have to hire someone to help you, for example. And it's pretty probable that, the penalties from any fines or anything done wrong, or the cost of hiring someone to look into a particular query that you've got from the tax authorities will probably outweigh any savings that you've made through all the prior stuff that you've done. So do look to optimize your taxes legally, of course, but do be sensible at the same time with how you handle your, taxes, your business accounting in that respect. So guys, I hope you found this video helpful. And if you're new to the whole subject of taxes, I hope this is perhaps giving you something that you can run with, that you can go and look into to help you understand better the taxes that are applicable in your situation. Leave a comment and let me know, what do you wish that you'd known sooner when it comes to taxes? Till next time, I'll see you on the next one, and let's get this money.